We know that coming to Walt Disney World can be very overwhelming with all the fast passes, the dining reservations, even getting from attraction to attraction can be extremely overwhelming. But we've got a friend that can help you make your next trip to Walt Disney World even more magical. It's Ramon and Theme Park Concierges. You can visit themeparkconcierges.com or call them at 407-257-9973. Ramon and his amazing team of VIP concierges will take care of you from the moment you arrive at the park until the moment you go back to your resort. They can take care of you for a 4-hour time slot or a full day. It all depends on what you need. They can take care of your dining reservations, your fast passes, and even make sure that you find even more magic hidden in the Disney parks. Well, contact our friends, themeparkconcierges.com, or call 407-257-9973 and tell them your friends over at the Disney Parks Podcast sent you.
Welcome to the Disney Parks Podcast with your hosts, Tony Caselnova from DisneyByTheNumbers.com and Parkhopper John from WDWParkhoppers.com. Keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast at all times. And get ready for the Disney Parks Podcast. And now, the Disney Parks Podcast Infotainment segment.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Disney Parks Podcast. We have got, not only is he an amazing guest, not only is he one of the most knowledgeable guys, you know, short of Jim Korkis. He's probably one of the most knowledgeable Disney guys I know. But Tony and I, actually get to call him one of our best friends. We love him so much, we have no idea how to properly pronounce his last name. Mr. Mickey News himself, Bill Iadonisi.
Iadonisi.
That was close.
Close enough.
But our good friend Bill, who writes for both of the Disney Parks Podcast, Disney by the Numbers, and the www.parkhoppers.com, as well as amongst others. We'll get into that so much more. We're gonna talk to him about his Disney journey and find out more about this fascinating Disney historian. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Bill. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I feel very honored for you guys to interview me here.
Well, you've interviewed us.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
He's not interviewed me.
Okay. No.
But no, it's because I'm not that interesting.
Oh, I think you are
Parkhoppers
very
is,
interesting.
you know, I appreciate that. So, but we're glad to have you here.
Yeah. So, Bill, we'd like to ask everybody, the first question is, how did your Disney journey begin? So when did all the love of Disney start?
Well, that's funny because as far as I remember, as far as I go, as I can reach back, Disney was always in our house. So you have to remember, when I was a kid, there was only one TV in the house, and my dad, when he came home, he watched TV. So whatever my father watched, you either liked it or you read a book. And he was a Disney fanatic. He loved it. One of his biggest loves of Disney was the Disney True Life Adventure series.
Oh, yeah.
If you recall, Walt started it all in 1948 with Seal Island. And that of course, transcended to the True Life Adventure series, all about nature. And Walt was a huge nature fan.
Right.
And my father loved that show. And of course, because he watched, it was Disney Wild World of Color, we watched, of course, the Mickey Mouse Club. Then, of course, we watched Zorro and Davy Crockett.
Right.
Well, the whole Disney scenario was out there for us. So we grew up with Disney.
Right.
And one of my favorite Disney things was watching the Disney shorts, the Mickey Mouse shorts. And then, of course, they always had a segment with the Silly Symphonies, which was another amazing thing. So I grew up with Disney because of my dad.
So did your mom or dad take you to like the Disney movies on a Saturday and you'd watch the short and a double feature?
Yes, actually, I remember we would see Flubber. We saw some of the earlier Disney live movies at the time.
Yeah.
Then we, of course, I remember he told us to see Snow White and all the other major things. So again, I grew up with Disney because my father loved Disney.
Right.
And that's basically how it started, and I've always had a love of Disney.
Yeah. So when was the first trip to Disneyland or Disney World?
My first trip to Walt Disney World was, I believe it was 1977.
Oh, wow.
If I'm not mistaken. I was young. We went on a family trip, Magic Kingdom, of course.
Yeah, there's only one park.
That's only one park at the time. And that's when I really started saying, this is an amazing place. I mean, you can literally lose yourself into the park, because what Walt always dreamed of, you forget reality, you want to move into fantasy and magic. And he accomplished that by just walking down Main Street. You were consumed by the whole park. It was just geared to making you believe you were in Fantasyland.
So how old were you at the time?
77, 50. I was 27 years old.
Oh, wow. So you're later in life.
Little
like
later
me.
in life,
Yeah,
right.
I was much later when I started.
Right, because
coming.
don't forget, I started my job at 73, my main job, and it took a while to save up money and get things going. But that was my first trip, was in the Magic Kingdom in 1977.
So you've been to Disneyland?
Oh, yes, several times.
Several times?
I love Disneyland.
Do you have a preference?
It's funny you say that, because I remember years ago I wrote an article, Disneyland or Disney World. What's better? There's no better park. Each has its own magic, specific magic. We all must remember Walt did walk in Disneyland.
Right.
Every aspect of the park, even to the placement of the garbage cans, Walt did it himself.
Right.
But a lot of people don't realize that before Walt passed away, he still walked the property on Disney World here before he passed away.
Right.
So there's no preference. Of course, we have more land; it's bigger, but the magic is just the same. I mean, you're still talking about Disney.
Right.
Yeah.
This is my personal opinion, of course.
So when did you start getting fascinated by the facts, so much so that you started contemplating writing and archiving some of those historic facts?
I was always a techno geek, even as a kid. I mean, everything. I loved science. I loved things that you just like to read about. I was always a science tech. I remember my mom bought me Popular Mechanics when I was a kid, and I still have the magazine.
Right.
And I've always was fascinated when you would go to the parks. For example, I remember I was in the first 2 months Epcot opened, '82. I walked into the park, and the very first attraction I walked on with my first wife was,
Spaceship Earth?
Spaceship Earth.
Wow.
And that always holds a special love for me, because it's the first one I went on, and it even smells the same when you walk in,
Yeah.
And what fascinated me was when I was riding it, I'm looking at all the animatronics, the ride system, saying, man, how does this work? How do they do that? And that's how I got this interest in how does things work in Disney. It was just how they worked, and that sparked my interest in doing research and reading this, reading that, and just getting interested in Disney itself and the workings of Disney.
I did the same.
Yeah.
That's what got me into it. I wanted to know how they did it all.
It's just amazing.
How did they do this every single day, day after day?
Right.
The same shows, the same thing, same operation, and you went and you had the same experience.
Well, for example, when Epcot first opened, they had. I don't know if anybody remembers. They had the talking telephones. All the new technology was coming out, and it was just so fascinating. I said, how do they do that?
Right.
And that was the grabber for me. It just sparked my interest in Disney. Not the fact and the history of Disney was interesting too. How did Walt start this? Where did Walt come from?
Right.
That type of thing.
Right.
Was his family? How did he do this? How did he get to Disneyland? That's how I started doing it.
Right. I was a little different. I didn't start with, how do they do this? I came at it from this is a pretty magical place, and the feelings that I got. I fell in love with the park. My first experience was at Epcot with Illuminations, and I'd never seen anything like that. But really, it was Magic Kingdom, because we came back the next day. But what did it for me is okay. So who is Walt Disney? I know about Walt Disney Studios. I know about the movies and the animated films and the shorts and all that stuff. But I really wanted to find out the history of the park. You know, how can we have two parks? Why Disneyland and Walt Disney World? Why are they different? How do they come to be? And really fell in love with this guy Walt and his story. And so much so, and I coined this phrase. I've said it a few times. I don't know if I've ever told you. You know, when you start getting into the history of Walt Disney, you really become very homesick for someone that you've never met. And I think all of us share that feeling of Walt, so much so that when I went to Disneyland for my first time, the first thing I did was I went straight to the firehouse and touched the bricks, knowing that he was there. His hand was probably where I was leaning.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I remember the first time we went to Disneyland, we were walking through the castle and the castle foyer. I said to my wife, I says, you know, it's amazing. We're standing right here, and Walt probably was standing right here too. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
it's Walt Disney. That's why I used to call him Uncle Walt. He had such a personality that you just were attracted to the man. The way he had amazing prose and ability of a storyteller. He was an amazing storyteller, and to listen to him talk, you were drawn into his dream. It was like you were part of his idea. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think enamored Walt to so many thousands of millions of people over the world. Especially, Walt was so far ahead of his time. He knew that television at the time was the way to promote things, and that's why early on in television, that's how he got most of his funding for Disneyland, by promoting through TV. Mm-hmm. And just listening to Walt, you felt like, just like my dad, or that's my father, or my uncle. Right. And he had a way of speaking where you felt like he was talking directly to you and not at you.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I got so much interested in Walt Disney, the man, not the celebrity.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why I have a library full of everything written about Walt you can think of.
Right.
Yeah.
So you write a lot of articles for lots of different websites. What was the first website that you started writing for?
Well, the very first one was the Mickey News out in California.
Right.
And
How did that all come about?
well, it was funny because I would prowl the internet when I was living in New Jersey before I moved down here, and looking at websites, anything Disney. I mean, I was just a Disney geek. If it was anything Disney, I would read about it. I was looking for information on how things worked. I just happened to run across the Mickey News site, and it was a nice site, and they had a lot of things. And I was actually looking, and they had an advertisement. We're looking for help, people to write, people take pictures, blah blah blah. So I emailed the owner, Gavin Hallbolt, back. Says, yeah, I'm very interested. It says, I love Disney. I'm a prolific writer. I mean, I could type 65 words a minute.
Right.
I've always been a very good writer. And the fact that it just comes out of my fingers. I don't think too much about it. And he said, yeah, the only thing is you have to write at least 2 articles a month.
Uh-huh.
And that's how it started. I just picked the subjects, went over it, typed it, sent it in. He loved it. And I've been writing for Gavin since 2004.
Wow.
Yes, I would say 2004.
So what are the other sites you write for?
Well, now I write, of course, for WD Parkhoppers.
Right.
I work for Disney by the Numbers. Mm-hmm. I also write, of course, for the Mickey News, and I also write for an amazing website by Tim Devine called magicandpixels.com.
Right. Right.
And if there's anybody who could take pictures of Disney, he is so talented with a camera.
Tim's a great guy.
Yeah. He's a great guy. Tim's a great guy, and he also holds meets in Disney too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So those are the sites I write for now.
Yeah. You write for another hack site, Disney by the Numbers.
Yeah, he said that.
Did he?
Yeah.
He said Disney Parks Podcast.
And I did say Disney by the Numbers.
Did he? Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's a hack site.
I think we met at a Disney food blog meetup.
I believe so, yes.
And I think you were writing for EJ.
And I was writing for EJ at the time.
Yeah.
I was writing for her for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But, and it wasn't that, she treated us very well, the guys who wrote for her.
Yeah.
Like John Big Fat Panda was writing for her too. He would do the recipes.
Yeah.
But the thing would kind of irk me, I guess, in a way, was you spend, first of all, you go to Disney eat, everybody knows Disney's not cheap to eat at.
Right.
So go to interview at a restaurant, whether it be a counter service or whether it be table service, it's me, my wife, and I would like to take another couple too, because just having two people, I like to get an opinion, at least 4 people.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money.
Sure.
And again, it was a privilege to work, to write for a site like that. I mean, writing for everybody out here knows you're not going to make a fortune with websites at Disney. It's of a love of Disney.
Whoa. What? You're not going to make You lied to me, Tony.
Sorry. The check's in the mail.
So after I write the articles, send in the pictures, get everything done, spend a fortune doing it.
Right.
She wouldn't post the article like for a month.
Wow.
And I said, is there any problem or anything? I said, we got all the other things. And after a while, I got the thing was I'm spending money, and she's not. Sometimes she wouldn't post it for a month and a half.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So I just said, I think I'm just going to take a hiatus from writing a bit, and then she never got back to me. So.
Yeah.
Maybe I took the wrong tact in that, but I just kind of thought, hell, if you're gonna write like that, at least post a thing within a week or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met a lot of people at that meetup. I met you. I met Rick.
Yeah.
I met Amanda. I met a lot of people at that.
Well, I met Big John Big Fat Panda. I met him at
there too.
Yeah, I met John at a Lou Mangello meet
Who?
in the studios.
Who?
Yeah.
Mangello.
Who?
Limoncello.
Him?
Lemon
Yeah,
Jello.
good guy.
Yeah.
It's short.
All right. So now that you're living here in Florida, do you have a favorite park?
Oh, Magic Kingdom by far.
Yeah.
There's no other park for me compares.
Is it because that was the first place you went? What's the nostalgia? For me, it's the first place I went. So
It's an interesting question. It's not. I don't think it has to do with the first place I went. I believe because it was the first park that Walt made.
yeah.
There's something nostalgic about that park, because after all, that park is encompasses everything Walt believed in. I mean, don't forget when he may have thought about Epcot, future of the city.
Yeah.
I don't even believe Walt, as far visioned as he was, could ever contemplate his company expanding the way it has today.
Sure.
I don't even think Walt could have seen cruise ships, timeshares, et cetera, et cetera. But because Walt made that park first, plus it has I'm a kid at heart.
Yeah.
Everything in the Magic Kingdom is right up my alley.
Yeah.
Pirates, Haunted Mansion, even the teacups I like running on.
Yeah.
It's something for me. I can lose myself in a place.
Right.
Yeah.
I lose myself in
I
Magic
feel like
Kingdom.
it is my number one park, and then the studios is probably right behind it.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I love being in the Magic Kingdom at night.
Oh yeah.
And actually, honestly, I love being in all the parks at night. It's just a different feel. But Magic Kingdom is just, I love being in Adventureland. I love being in Frontierland. Tomorrowland is okay, but there's something about being on.
It's painted now.
Yeah. but there's something about being like on Main Street when the lights are on and you can see the castle in the background. And
it's funny about Main Street too. I mean, I'd be willing to wager 80% of the people that walk up and down Main Street have no clue.
Right.
Really. I mean, let's face it, Disney, everything with Disney was a story.
Yeah.
There's a backstory to everything.
Right.
I mean, whether it be an attraction, with a personality, a building, whatever. There's always a little backstory.
Yeah.
How many people realize that every name up on Main Street actually are real people or corporations that helped build the Magic Kingdom?
Yeah.
I'll bet you half the people have no idea. And it's kind of like you don't see the forest through the trees. There is so much to experience just walking. I can walk the whole day in the Magic Kingdom from sunup to sundown, not go on one attraction and still be totally entertained. Yeah. There is so much to see. There is so much to see.
Yeah. And I think that's really what differentiates Disney parks from a Universal or a SeaWorld, from any of the parks. Universal Hollywood, Universal Florida, great parks, been there, love them, a lot of fun, a lot of great stuff there, but the level of detail, the level of, I don't know how to put this the most appropriate way. When you can walk down Main Street USA and you can hear the music and you can go down a little side road.
Smell the smells.
You can smell the smell. You go down a little side road and you can hear a music lesson going on. Then you go down across another way and you can see the Dapper Dans performing. And then you can walk back up the street and you can see just the names, the Roger Brogy on the side of the carriage house. Why is it there? Why is that important? The railroad tracks. Why are they there? What's the other meaning other than that's how they get the cart down to the castle and back? There's a lot of different things.
But what you said is true too. For example, Disney's attention to detail is second to none. I'll give you a perfect example. One of the most amazing cues for me is the Tower of Terror.
Yeah,
I had a Black Seal license when I was years ago when I was in college for steam, high pressure steam. That steam room down there, unless you are cognizant about steam and furnaces and whatever, they're either the props or they're actually put together where if it was a functioning steam room, that would work.
Wow.
All the gauges are where they're supposed to be, the condensation tanks, the return lines. Disney didn't have to do that. They could have just put anything there, and who's going to realize?
Yeah.
But that is actually a functioning steam room.
Wow.
If you walk into the foyer of the Tower of Terror, and you see the Mahjong table.
Yeah.
Now, I wonder how many people realize that Mahjong table is a game actually in progress.
Right.
And Disney hired 2 Mahjong experts to make sure that game was exactly the way it should be when the people were scared off when the lightning hit.
Right.
So you could return to that Mahjong game and actually continue the game.
Right.
Who would go into detail like that but Disney?
That's like
that is a special attraction of Disney.
That was actually probably the second place we met. Was at that Disneyland event.
That's right.
With Mark Silverman at
Yep,
the Tower.
that was an amazing
Had
event.
A backstage tour of the attraction, and then
got to go on the attraction with the lights on. Whoa,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah. And then Mark doing the spiel.
Mark did the spiel. It was amazing.
Good for him.
Yeah, and then the cast member kind of gave us like a history of the lobby. And was pointing out.
Remember, we also
the
went
tables.
into the repair shop where they repair the vehicle.
Oh, that's cool.
So
I'd
it
like
was
to do
that was
I
actually
wish
very
we did more things like that.
Yeah, they don't seem to be doing that as much.
No.
Yeah.
Well, they will. They will.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. It's kind of like when you're talking about the Mahjong game. It's very similar to the chess game in the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's 2 skeletons playing chess.
Yeah.
And they're in the game that could never be won. They hired guys to come in and fix it that way.
Well.
And that's the type of things that geeky, nerdy guys like us can really get into. Just the history. There's more to meets the eye than just a theme park. If you're going for that, there's nothing wrong with that. But being able to go somewhere and to spend a couple hours walking around a themed land and just realizing there's so much more detail. Finding the hidden Mickey in the concrete in Tomorrowland.
Exactly.
Finding all the stitches and the artwork in the Trader Mickey's, right? Star Traders.
Star Traders.
I knew I'd spit it out sooner or later.
But you got to remember too. Here's the difference between we're very fortunate we live here. All right, I can go to the park any day of the week. The majority of people come to visit Walt Disney World are on a finite time. They only have a week, 5 days, 4 days. They really don't have time to sit there and browse around. They want to get on the attractions, get to the next park. So in a way, you can't blame a lot of the guests that come here. They don't have the time to really soak in. I don't even know how to describe it.
Soak in the atmosphere.
The atmosphere or all the hidden treasures that Disney has to offer. I mean, there's so much in all the parks to see other than just going on soaring or going on a test track. I mean, there's a million things to actually do and see, but you have to have the time to do it.
Well, we've all taken friends and family when they come in, and we're always pointing out things, and we get done with the day, and it's like, I had no idea they had that much stuff just in this area that we visited. How do you keep all that so straight? Yeah. Like, I don't half the time.
Yeah, I tell people if they come once a year, they should take one of the tours. Now, the Keys to the Kingdom is the best one, probably, but take one of the tours so that you can learn some of the history about the park, why this is like this and why that.
One of the tours I recommend is the steam train tour.
I love that tour.
That is an amazing tour.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
you get
a little
there
early in the morning.
It's worth it. Believe me, it's worth it.
So, do you have a favorite attraction in any of the parks?
Yeah, Haunted Mansion.
Yeah,
Really?
Now, hang on before you go down the road. Which Haunted Mansion is your favorite?
That's a hard question because both the Haunted Mansions have an allure that I like. I will have to say the Haunted Mansion here.
The Walt Disney World?
Yeah, because you got to remember the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland looks more like an antebellum southern
plantation
house, where the one we have here is a little eerier. It looks more quintessential Haunted Mansion,
right?
Yeah, especially at night.
Especially at night, exactly. Especially around Halloween too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
Yeah, it's Haunted Mansion is definitely my favorite. I've always, as a kid, I was always loved ghost stories, and my father would take me to the fairs, and we go into haunted houses. Right. It's always I have to say that's the reason why.
Yeah,
that's a great attraction.
So going back a little bit to your writing, Bill, where do you get the topics from, and then where do you do all the research for them? Because it takes a lot of time to.
Well, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
The majority of it is not writing it; it's researching it. Mm. But like you said about topics, I mean, what has not already been written about Disney? Literally, it's. I remember speaking to a good friend of mine, Jack Spence. He used to write for one of the websites.
Yeah.
And he got to the point he just doesn't do it anymore. He says, "There's just nothing more to write about. How many times can you write about Alan Menken? How many times you interview this person or that person? And it's been done a million times.
The best place to get a hamburger. The best place to get French fries.
Top 5 smells at Disney.
Yeah.
And then again,
top 5 bathrooms.
And then again, that comes down to what I always believe in. I believe in writing historical articles, not informational. It's just opinions. Like somebody like you said, what's the 10 best snacks at Disney? Well, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
I could think. Well, I remember reading an article similar to that one time. It says there's 4 of them snacks I don't even like.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So they're your best 10 snacks.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in history.
Right.
Like I love writing about Walt and his family, especially Walt and his family. Like I used to do a thing with the Mickey News. It was called Character of the Month, and every month I would write an article on a character, and it would be a contest. Right.
Wow.
And it got to the point where after 4 years, I mean, you run through all the characters.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest part about writing right now for me for Disney is trying to get new, fresh material or something that hasn't been written about or something that's obscure and no one's talked about. Right. But I mean, thank God for the internet. It's a lot easier now to do research than it was, say, 10 years ago when you had to look at books. And there's nothing wrong with books.
Yeah. I wish that the Disney archives would digitize their archives and put them online. I mean, not everything needs to be online, not every memo and note.
Well, you know what?
Some of it should be online so we can look at it.
It should. You know, when you get down to it, I believe what you said is true. I think everything should be about the fans. After all, if it wasn't for the guests, the fans, the lovers of Disney, the company wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Walt left a legacy for us, and I believe it should all be out there for everybody to read. Right. I mean, it's not a secret. It's not like the Norton bomb site or something you're hiding. This is Walt's life. It all should be out there. Yeah. You should be able to read some of these memos. Right. That's one of the things about Jim Corkus that he really impresses me. Not only is he amazing as a historian, he's always worried, and he got me into this now, about losing all this unwritten knowledge as slowly as more people pass away. Right. I mean, most of the people that worked with the 9 Old Men hardly remember them anymore. Yeah. And that's what Jim is, I think, one of his major missions in life is to preserve these stories, these untold stories and tales of Disney and that's never been published, to keep them for everybody. After all, the fans are what makes the Disney company thrive.
Right.
So I think that he's right about that.
Yeah. Right. And that's why I love the things that you write, because you write about things that I had no clue about. You know, I remember the cyclorama, you know, the recent article about that I haven't read yet, but I'm looking forward to, about the airport at Disney. You know, the things that you write about are obscure, you know, big or small things that I would never have known had you not brought it up, or, you know, maybe something I heard about but never really knew anything about. And like you said, every time we get to interview somebody, like a Pat Carroll or one of the people that knew...
That woman, Kay.
Yeah, Kay from the Walt Disney Family Museum.
Yeah.
people that actually knew Walt. They're becoming fewer and fewer.
Exactly.
So when you get an opportunity to jot that information down, that becomes public record that will never go away as long as the internet exists. And that's a huge deal. That's important, especially for what we do. And that's why I call you a Disney historian, because you're bringing out that history. Yes, I'm sure that Jim Korkis has probably talked about something like that in the past, but I've never heard.
Korkis has talked about everything about Disney.
Yeah, but I don't remember Korkis talking about the airport or the cyclorama or some of the things that you've written before. I've not heard him talk about that. And I'm not putting you up against him. I'm just saying that's why I call you a historian, because you are chronicling the history of Disney.
Well, to me, I think something like that. I mean, how many people really knew that Disney had an airport where you could literally fly right into Disneyland or Walt Disney World and be within 4 minutes of the resorts at the time?
Right.
Although the airport only lasted like 2.5 years, it's just an amazing part of Disney history.
Right.
It's so many things have come and gone. Like I remember my wife years ago went to Epcot with the girls for about a week. And they had this parade called the Tapestry of Nations.
Man.
Amazing, and they took that away.
Man.
Now, of course, everyone has to realize Walt never intended the parks to be a museum.
Yeah.
They were always meant to thrive and to get bigger and better and more interesting. And as the years go by, you have to add new things, but they get stale.
Yeah.
The Disney
there are
Parks
certain things
podcast
you
is
don't
not
touch.
affiliated with the
Pirates,
Walt Disney
Pirates of
Company.
the Caribbean,
All Disney parks,
classic.
attractions,
You may add
lands,
something to them that you
event
never
names,
want to
etc.
change.
are registered trademarks
I
of the Walt
understand
Disney
that part
Company.
about changing parades and things, but you can't please everybody.
Sure.
So unfortunately, a lot of people remember. I don't know if you guys remember Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Yeah.
Replaced it with the Full Monty, but they still have it in Disneyland.
Yeah.
But it's just something, and they even have a monument to Mr. Toad in the Animal Cemetery.
Right.
You see Mr. Toad there.
Well, and you've got
Handing
the
a deed over right in
Winnie the
in
Pooh.
Woody Pooh. But it's something that every fan has to realize that you just can't have the same thing over and over. You got to add to it. Walt never wanted to rest on his laurels. He did not believe, like he always used to say, you can't top pigs with pigs. Mm-hmm. Referring, of course, to the Three Little Pigs, which was one of the most popular cartoon at the time.
Right.
And they kept calling for more pigs, and Walt didn't want to do it.
Right.
But his brother Roy got him in there. Let's do it. They want it. And those 3 successional pig stories never really came up to the same height as the original. That's why Walt did not like to do sequels.
Yeah.
Right. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
So
Now it's all about the sequel.
Yeah, especially if you're a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
So real quick before we let you go, favorite character?
Mickey Mouse. I have to say, I know it's cliche, but Mickey started it all. I just loved Mickey. And I guess the reason I was because when I was a kid growing up, I used to watch all the Mickey shorts, so naturally everything was Mickey. And Mickey Mouse to me is what started it. That's my favorite character.
Top rap. And I've been to your house. You've got a couple of Mickey things around.
So some of the stuff I got is amazing. Like those, my favorites are the 2 cast iron Mickeys from the 30s.
Right.
And it's not even monetary. I mean, they're probably worth money, but to me, they're priceless because of what they are, what they represent.
Right. I agree.
So.
I agree. All right, Bill, just remind everybody if they want to find you on the internet, where are some of the places they can read your articles?
Well, like I said, www.parkhoppers.com, DisneyByTheNumbers.com, Mickey News, which is the one I originally worked for and I still write for, and themagicandpixels.com.
Okay.
I try to put out a couple articles a month.
Right.
And I just hope whoever reads them gets a little bit of information and gets a little bit of entertainment out of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, man. Thank you so much. We love you. We appreciate you. And I've been wanting to get you on the show for a while. So this is a bucket list item for me. So just thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you for the praise. Just to be on this show is very honorable to me.
Well, we
thank you so
that.
much.
All right. And I guess we'll see you in the parks.